My name is Hallie Higbee.
And I'm Sarah Guy.
We are the creators of the product Betty the Biobot. She is an anatomical representation of a human made with recycled items.
We would like to explain to you why our functional human model is similar to a human and a better buy than the traditional model.
For the low price of $14.99, you will have not only models of the organs in the human body, but also a functioning respiratory and urinary system, which are excellent for demonstrations.
Now we will explain each individual organ.
For Betty's pretty face, we decided to use a milk carton because it's the relative shape of a human face. So she has her nose here, she has eyeballs here, which are made of pom-poms, and they're blue to represent blue human eyes. For her ears, we used cardboard, which is the same material as the rest of her body. And then here she has hair, which is blue and pink, and it is made out of plastic ribbon. We can see she's going through a little bit of a rebellious phase here. If you lift the top of her skull, you can see that in the cranial cavity, she has a brain, which is made out of pink paper to represent the pink tint of the human brain. So here she has lips, which we made out of pink felt paper, or foam paper, which represents the pigment and protrusion of human lips.
Within the mouth, we cut white teeth out of the milk jug and a tongue out of the pink foam paper. Both of these assist in chewing and swallowing, just like a normal human's would. The esophagus extends from the mouth all the way down to the stomach. We chose to use black tubing for the esophagus because it is very elastic, just like a real esophagus. The esophagus attaches to the stomach here. The stomach functions in secreting enzymes that digest food. The stomach is made from a whoopee cushion because the whoopee cushion is the relative size and shape of the human stomach. The stomach attaches to the duodenum here at the pyloric sphincter. Then comes the next part of the small intestine, the jejunum, and lastly, the ileum. The small intestine functions in absorbing digested food. The small intestines are made out of pink lays because they are the relative size and shape of human intestines. The small intestine then connects to the ascending colon, leading into the transverse colon, and lastly, the descending colon. The colon functions in absorbing water and storing feces. The colon is made from brown paper and wrapped up and over the small intestines. Lastly, the colon attaches to the rectum here. The rectum functions in storing feces, so we chose a round slinky because it is elastic and could hold feces just like the human rectum.
As for the digestive accessory organs, Betty has a liver constructed of felt. In the human body, the liver produces proteins that are important in blood clotting. It is comprised of 4 lobes, so we decided to replicate that in the model. Next we have the gallbladder. The gallbladder is a pear-shaped hollow green organ located under the liver and on the right side of the abdomen. To replicate this, we used a green balloon because it is hollow and pear-shaped. We also included a small ball to represent a gallstone. Directly behind her stomach, Betty has a pancreas. The pancreas in the human body is a yellow-tinted organ, and it is shaped similarly to a banana, which is why Betty has a plastic banana acting as her pancreas. Finally, we included a spleen. The spleen is an organ in the upper far left part of the abdomen, to the left of the stomach. The spleen acts as a filter for blood and as part of the immune system. Old red blood cells are recycled, and platelets and white blood cells are located there. To replicate the complex human spleen, we encased a sponge in a red balloon and placed it in the upper left abdomen. The sponge represents the filtering function, and the red balloon shows the color. Betty has a functioning respiratory and urinary system, which we will get into further detail about later. Finally, Betty has a heart, which is composed of a right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, left ventricle, aorta, and coronary arteries and veins. The blue yarn here represents the jugular veins, which would drain blood from the face, brain, and neck. One of the functions in Betty the Biobot, in which we have included, are the lungs, which are a part of the respiratory system. For the lungs, we chose to use 2 water bottles, which contain balloons inside which are attached to these yellow straws, which act as bronchial tubes, and then the trachea, which goes up and out through the mouth. The diaphragm is located directly beneath the lungs. So, to demonstrate, Betty will inhale and the lungs inflate. Similarly to a human, the left lung inflates slightly smaller because it contains one less load.
As for the urinary system, we chose to use 2 sponges to represent the kidneys. We cut them in the shapes of kidneys, and we chose sponges because they filter blood. For the ureters, we chose to use yarn to carry the liquid from the kidneys to the bladder. And for the bladder, we used a small cup that holds the liquid, and then when the liquid exits, it goes through the urethra, which is a small yellow straw coming from the urinary bladder.
When liquid enters the urinary bladder, it escapes through the urethra.
I'm a Dr. Diaz from Indiana University. About Betty the Biobot to teach my medical students. I love this product and it helped my students learn better than a traditional model. Yo recomiendo este producto.